So here I am again, making another video about New Jersey's nonsensical gun control. So I've been pondering making this video for a couple of days, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like doing it, don't feel like doing it, oh, I'll get around to doing it. Right, but since these laws are coming down the pipeline, I might as well make the video before, all of this is, finalized and written into law. Okay, let's look at a couple of things, right? So, probably the biggest gun control law that they want to pass in New Jersey that has the most impact and most effect on people is going to be the 10 round magazine ban. Basically, what that's going to do is if you don't get your over 10 round capacity magazines out of the state of New Jersey, you will be deemed a felon. I don't know whether it's class 3, class 4, whatever level felon you're going to be labeled. Because, again, New Jersey, like a lot of these stupid liberal states, you get charged as a felon for the mere possession of essentially anything firearms related or anything that the state restricts. Mere possession of it. You didn't commit a crime, you didn't do anything, you didn't shoot anybody, you didn't brandish the weapon, nothing. Mere possession. Even in your home. Meaning, if the police come to your home for something else, and then for some reason they have a reason or a warrant to search your home, and then they find that you are in possession of illegal items, they can then charge you with a felony. Right, which means you lose all of your gun rights, you lose your right to vote, you lose your right to federal loans for school, which is probably one of the dumbest things ever, right? But again, as I've articulated in many of my videos, when it comes to the mass incarceration of, black men, again, our system is not designed for rehabilitation. Our system is designed to create a system where people can be legally discriminated against and have their rights denied and be funneled into essentially a second-class citizen status. I digress from that point. Moving on. So they say that the whole 10-round magazine ban is to stop mass shootings. And what's so retarded about that is I'm saying to myself, okay, let's say I want to be a New Jersey mass shooter. All right, so New Jersey enacts a 10 round magazine ban on guns, right? I'm saying to myself, okay, as this hypothetical mass shooter, right? Why wouldn't I just go into Pennsylvania, purchase some more than 10 round magazines, or more than 15 round magazines, because hey, I'm going to commit a crime, so I might as well just, go for more than 10 and go for more than the already restricted and regulated 15 that exist in New Jersey. And then take those magazines, bring them back into New Jersey, which will be illegal at this point, but I don't give a shit because, again, I want to go off and be a mass shooter, right? In this hypothetical scenario. Right? So I don't care what New Jersey's laws are. I can just go across the bridge, go into Pennsylvania, get the magazines that I want to commit some atrocity, and then bring them back in New Jersey. Or I can go across the bridge and go into Delaware, and then bring them back in New Jersey. Like there's nothing stopping another state from selling me whatever it is I want to get. There's nothing stopping another state from selling me a long gun or selling me, extended magazines or normal capacity magazines. There's nothing stopping them from selling it to me. The breaking of the laws when I drive back into the state of New Jersey, right? But then at that point, it's like, when are they going to catch me? Does the state of Pennsylvania notify the New Jersey State Police that I bought magazines in Pennsylvania? No. Would Pennsylvania even comply or participate in something like that. I highly, highly, highly doubt it. So I'm saying the New Jersey wouldn't even know about it until the crime has already been committed. The first shots have already been fired. The children's bodies have already hit the floor, right? So I say to myself, I'm like, they're like, oh, this is to stop atrocities. No, what it's really meant to do is it's meant to do a couple of things. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. Inch by inch, because at the end of the day, they don't want anybody to have any firearms. Period. Okay. The main thing that it'll do is essentially the only guns that you'll be able to purchase in New Jersey will all now be restricted to either 10-round magazines if they make the 10-round magazines for those guns, or you'll just have to go with the guns that only have 10-round, magazines, standard, typically 45 ACP, because, that's my attitude. If I can only have 10, I want a bigger bullet. So that's the first part, right? So, they got I'm like, how does this stop mass shootings? You just go into Delaware, go into Pennsylvania, and buy all the magazines you want, and then drive back into New Jersey to commit the atrocity that you want to commit. The other thing is like, it always amazes me how when it comes to magazine capacity, it's like the people who are like, you need fewer bullets, they always think of it in terms of, a mass shooter, but they never think of it in terms of self-defense or home defense, right? They think that everybody is an expert shot. 10 rounds is all you need. Well, what if you have multiple attackers? Again, I can pull up multiple videos on YouTube, whatever, 2 or 3 attackers when it comes to a home invasion. It's all over the internet. Like, I don't even have to elaborate on that point. It's there. The videos are there. 3 guys kicking in a door. I remember the guy in Oklahoma who defended his house with an AR-15 and killed the 3 intruders. Right? And the grandfather was up there crying, talking about, oh, it was overkill. Right? As though those kids decided to come in the house and they were going to give, the homeowner hugs and kisses when they came in there with brass knuckles and a big Bowie knife and ski mask on. But, they were all good kids, right? But it just amazes me that when it comes to imagination, it can always imagine, oh my God, if they had less bullets, we'd be safer, right? But then I'm saying there's no person who's ever used a firearm to defend themselves and said to themselves, I wish I had less ammunition. That's never happened. And the nuts thing is the fact that in the state of New Jersey, right, you can't conceal carry anyway. So essentially, whatever magazine limits or whatever magazine restrictions are placed upon gun owners in New Jersey, those are magazines that essentially are only lawful in one's own home. So they don't go out there on the street. They don't, go out in public, right? And it's like, I don't understand what people don't get about this idea that essentially, it's like, what is the price of freedom? Right? Because this is like the big question. And I know I'm going ahead of myself because I'm going into the philosophical zone. But, are the deaths that we see the price of freedom? I would argue that they are. Because essentially, even with the 10-round magazine limit, if you have, which the Supreme Court has already adjudged that, having a firearm is an individual right, and it doesn't really particularly matter what firearm you have. I mean, this is my issue with the, assault weapons ban when people bring that up, especially in states where they restrict it down to 10 rounds. What does it matter if I have only 10 rounds that are coming out of a rifle or only 10 rounds that are coming out of a handgun when at the end of the day, it's still 10 rounds nonetheless, right? So banning an assault weapon and restricting it to 10 rounds is just doubly redundant, like many of the laws in New Jersey are doubly redundant. or triply redundant, like how you have to go before your local police station. Then you have to go and get the background check from the state troopers. Then you have to go and then go through the final background check with the NICS check, all within the same purchase of the same single firearm that you want. Right? But I'm just saying, the price of freedom, the price of having a situation in a nation where people have access to firearms, because that's what the Second Amendment really is about. It's about accessibility. Once the government is able to restrict your access to firearms into oblivion, and then you have to go and get approved to get a firearm from the very state or the very government that the founding fathers wanted to have a check and balance on, you no longer have that right. Right? Everything in the government is basically checks and balances, right? The legislative branch, the executive branch, the judicial branch, it's all checks and balances of power, right? No, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional, right? So you see this check and balance, right? And so to think that the founding fathers didn't create the Second Amendment with that in mind. Okay, so we have the checks and balances within the government itself, that they wouldn't put checks and balances between the government and the people who are being governed. And this coming from a group of white men who just fought another group of white men for their freedom because they didn't like the totalitarian government of the monarchies and the whole if it pleases the crown, you may do this. I like how one person put it. What is a license? A license is permission to do an otherwise legal act. Right, if I'm saying that right. Permission to do an otherwise legal act. You have to have a license to do that. Doesn't mean that it's illegal, but it's a legal act only with permission. Right? That doesn't sound right. Does that sound right? Still doesn't sound right. Still doesn't make sense. Because it's like, why do you have to get permission in the first place? Is it illegal or is it illegal? Right? I guess the argument is that it's legal, which is why it has you must be licensed. You must be licensed to do it. But if you really think about it, it is an otherwise legal act, not an illegal act, because otherwise it would just be categorized in a crime as a crime, right? They don't give you licenses to do crime. They give you licenses to do otherwise legal acts. Right? This is the problem with the the whole thing. But anyway, what was I saying? Is there something I missed? 10 round magazines. I was talking about 10 round magazines. I was talking about the home, and you can only have it in your home. The price of freedom. Okay, moving on. Right. So then the other thing that they got is all transfers will go through an FFL. And I'm like, why is that even necessary in the state of New Jersey when in the state of New Jersey, in order to possess a firearm, going back to licenses, you have to have a firearms ID card even to possess it. If you try to go to a range in New Jersey and you don't have a firearms ID card, they won't even let you shoot at the range. They won't even let you hold a gun or see a gun. Even if you go to a gun store and you don't have a firearms ID card, you can't even touch the gun behind the gun case. So when it comes to already, I think the policy was, as it pertains to handguns, you had to go through an FFL to transfer a handgun to somebody else. But now they want to do it to where long guns as well. But both of those scenarios didn't make sense, or this new added scenario still doesn't make sense, because the people who have firearms ID cards in New Jersey have already been vetted. That's why they have a firearms ID card. So trying to create this whole private sale thing. See, this is the stupidity like that New Jersey does. New Jersey tries to like import problems that the Democrats, nationwide will argue and identify as a problem. Like they'll say the gun show loophole, right? In New Jersey, gun shows are banned. There are no gun shows in New Jersey. You can't have a gun show. I think the only thing that they can remotely have, and I think they've gotten rid of all of those, are like relic shows, like with like muzzle loaders or something like that, flintlocks and things like that, for the old timers, right? But there are no gun shows in New Jersey. You got to go to Pennsylvania for a gun show, a real gun show, where it's like, oh my God, right? You walk in, it's like, oh my God. To any New Jerseyan or anybody from New York, it's like the most like cultural shock event that you can ever go to. As a nor'easter, which is or a northeasterner, which is a gun show in Pennsylvania. Go to the Oaks, or they got this other place, I forget. You can go on gunshows.com. They got all the gun shows, for the year, and you can go to the gun shows and whatnot. But it just doesn't make any sense when you already have a firearms ID card law. Like other states don't have firearms ID cards. If you're not a criminal, you can have a gun, right? In New Jersey, you have to go through fingerprinting, background check. Every time you buy a handgun, it has to be registered to the state. Long guns don't have to be registered, right? But this new added factor, again, like there's nobody I could sell a shotgun to in New Jersey who doesn't already have a firearms ID card. So again, if they have a firearms ID card, they've already been vetted. They've already gone through the background check. And then I believe if you commit a crime and then you get charged with the crime, New Jersey will revoke your firearms ID card. So again, why do we have to go through the FFLs for long guns when everybody who essentially has a gun in New Jersey and it has already been vetted? Because you can only have a gun in New Jersey legally if you have a firearms ID card. So it's just redundancy on top of redundancy. What's the other laws that they want to pass? The ammunition, not the ammunition limit. They also want to ban armor-piercing ammo that is like the description of the armor-piercing ammo is so archaic. It goes to show you how much these people who came up with the laws don't know anything about ballistics, don't know anything about firearms. Like they're still sitting there talking about, bullets with steel cores coming out of a handgun. First off, I believe that the only armor-piercing ammo that is already restricted by the federal government that fires in a handgun is the 5.7 by 28 millimeter SS-109 ammunition. If I'm saying that right, is it SS-109? It's the 5.7 ammo. So it's like how much is that gun? $1,000, something like that. It's up there. $1,200 for a FN 5.7 pistol, right? The federal government won't sell you that armor-piercing ammo. I don't know what other armor-piercing ammo they're talking about, but the armor-piercing ammo that they're describing be banned in New Jersey. Like, I don't even know where you would get the stuff. They don't sell it in gun stores. I don't know. I have no clue where they sell it. But here's the crazy thing, right? The armor-piercing ammo that actually does exist is nothing that they actually describe. Liberty Defense Ammo, which Military Arms Channel did an interview on, is purely a copper jacket. It's a solid copper bullet. Okay? There's no jacket, there's no lead core, there's no steel reinforcement or any other material, titanium, you name it. Because an armor-piercing bullet doesn't need any of that stuff to pierce, especially the type of armor that police officers are wearing out here on a daily basis, which is level 2 body armor. All a armor-piercing bullet needs, or all a bullet needs coming out of a, let's say, a 9mm handgun, to pierce level 2 body armor that police are wearing, even level 3 body armor, which is the hard steel plated armor, is speed. Not a steel core, a speed. Speed defeats body armor. Anything traveling over 2,000 feet per second is cutting through level 2 body armor like a hot knife through butter. So I guess the idea is that, they don't want to be, cops are chasing, some black guy in Camden, and he goes to shoot at the officer, and the officer has level 2 body armor, and they don't want them getting a hold of armor-piercing ammo, right? The drug dealers in Camden getting armor-piercing ammo, right? But again, they even described it wrong. If they really wanted to ban armor-piercing ammo, they would have banned Liberty Defense ammo. But they didn't ban that because they know nothing about firearms and they know nothing about ammunition, which goes to show you just how much they just slapped these laws up there and threw them up there, thinking about, bullet technology like it's the damn late 80s and early 90s. I mean, it's like saying, yeah, we got a problem with cops being shot by handguns, but we don't have a problem with cops being shot by rifle rounds, because essentially any rifle round is going to go straight through level 2 body armor, which is what 99% of police officers wear, out there, while they're policing. It's soft body armor. It's Kevlar. It can only stop up to like a 44 Magnum bullet. That's it. That's all they got. That's all that's protecting them. I'm sure some cops may say, hey, I want to get better protection and get some hard-plated armor. That shit is heavy. So they don't want to walk around with that. So the level 2 body armor, since most of the time they're going to be confronted with pistol calibers, they don't need to wear level 3 plated body armor. Which again reinforces the point about the fact that rifles, quote unquote, assault weapons, are not used in crime. Rarely are they ever used in crime, which is why most police officers run around with only level 2 body armor. Because if everybody was running around, all these criminals were running around with assault weapons, I hate that term, then obviously the cops would need to up their armor. What else is the other piece of legislation that they have? I can't think of the third piece. The fourth piece. The background checks, right? We need background checks. And I already covered that. That's the background. That's that whole firearms ID card, the transfers, and let me see. Nah, you know what? I'm not even gonna do all that. Because that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the laws that they wanna pass. I'm pretty sure I'm missing one. I wish I knew what it was. It's the so they want to ban the armor piercing ammo. Stupid. They want to all firearms transfers have to go through an FFL in a state where you already have firearms ID card. And they want to reduce the magazine capacity down to 10 rounds, right? To stop mass shootings, as though a mass shooter can't just go into Pennsylvania and buy himself a 30-round PMag and slap it in, his New Jersey compliant AR-15 and go to town. go over into Pennsylvania and grab himself a 33 round stick mag for his Glock 19 and go to town, right? Again, like people, they think you can be the thought police in a free society. Like even let's talk. Let me just add some other laws that New Jersey's not throwing up there, but just laws to me that are like just so just superfluous. 10-day waiting period. Now don't get me wrong, I could understand a 10-day waiting period or a 3-day waiting period or whatever waiting period you want to have in a reasonable amount of time for buying your first gun, right? Because the idea is, you might be heated, you might be bad. I'm gonna kill somebody, and go and you buy a gun, and then you go and, you know, kill your wife or something like that, right? Crime of passion. I get that. I can get that. Okay, and I'm saying if it's your first firearm, I'm saying you've waited however long you waited to get your first firearm. So what's an additional 3 days or what's an additional 10 days once you get your first firearm? But this is where it doesn't make sense, right? With the whole waiting period thing. If you're already a gun owner, why do you need to wait to get another gun? Right? If I already have guns, why do I need to wait a 10-day waiting period for my second gun? If I was going to commit a crime, why wouldn't I just commit a crime with the first gun that I already possess? Why would I go and order and buy a new gun, right? Go through all the background checks, go through all the permit to purchase, and all that other dumb nonsense that New Jersey has you doing. Why would I go through all of that and then what? Commit the crime with the gun that I gotta wait 10 days to get? As opposed to just committing the crime with the first gun that I got, right? This is why in states like Georgia, if you have a CCW, if you have a concealed carry permit, right, you don't need to go through the background check when you buy a gun at the gun store because they're like, oh, he's got a CCW permit. That means he's taken the classes. That means he's gone to, done the training and all that other stuff, whatever requirements they have, to be able to carry a gun in the state of Georgia. So when they go to buy a gun, they show their CCW card or their what do you call it, CCW or CHL, whatever you want to call it, license to carry, and they don't have to go through the NICS background check, if I'm not mistaken. They don't have to go through the NICS background check. Why? Because they have a CCW. They've already been vetted. Right? Because even in getting a CCW, they get a NICS background check. See, like New Jersey does this sort of redundant thing where it's like every time you buy a gun, we want a new background check. We want to refresh. We want to make sure that you haven't committed a crime between the last time you bought a gun and now, which is a big fat lie. What it is it's designed to be an obstacle. That's all it is. It's designed to be an obstacle and make getting a firearm the most onerous task in the world in New Jersey so that you basically just give up and don't go back to get another firearm. Just like with the whole, handgun permit to purchase nonsense that you have to go through every time you want to get it, a handgun. Right? Because, trust and believe. If you owned a gun in New Jersey and you committed a crime, please believe that the New Jersey state troopers with a SWAT team are going to be in front of your house, right, knocking on your door, serving a warrant, saying they are there to confiscate your firearms because you have lost your right to firearms in the state of New Jersey. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. They're on top of it. Okay? When's the last time you heard of a case where somebody in New Jersey, committed a crime after the fact with guns that they shouldn't have because they somehow fell through the cracks of the system? I'm not saying it's never happened, but I mean that would be front page news if it did happen. In New Jersey, because the anti-gunners would use that as see, and this is why we need to have this law that confiscates guns from people who commit crimes, right? Again, they already actively do that. They'll be knocking on your door. They know who you are. Your township knows who you are. To hell, they know every handgun that you have because you have to register them in New Jersey. You know. Trying to think what other nonsensical laws, that they try to put up. Um, and I think everybody pretty much listening to this video feels the same way as I do about the whole lack of concealed carry in New Jersey. It's just insane. You drive over into Pennsylvania. If you have a New Hampshire permit, you drive over in Pennsylvania, you carry a gun all day. You can carry a gun in the vast majority of states in this country. If you have a Utah permit and a Florida permit, you can carry in 35 states. If you're a New Jersey resident, 35 states you can carry in. Right? New Hampshire, if you got the New Hampshire permit in addition, that would make it 36, meaning you could carry in Pennsylvania. Okay? So, New Jersey acts like it's so right, it's so right, it's so right. No, you're wrong. The vast majority of the United States, people are able to carry guns to defend themselves. And people who carry guns are some of the most law-abiding people that there are. I even found a page of statistics on the Gun Violence Center and whatnot. And, man, they tried to pad the stats on that. It was like 6 cases. It was like 6 cases between, what was it? Like 2009 and 2013 or something like that. And they even tried to throw in cops who killed other cops and say that was a case of CCW killing another person, right? The cop killed his girlfriend, and then he killed another cop that I guess responded and then killed himself. Like they threw in like murder suicides in there, and I'm like, nah, that's not because the page was dedicated to CCW holders who killed cops. If you Google it, it'll pop right up, right? And they got cases in there that are like murder suicide. I'm like, you shouldn't even categorize that or factor that in there. They got another one where it was like a corrections officer. He went off the deep end, and they try to say, oh, well, see, this is an example of I'm like, he was a corrections officer. If anything, the damn article or the damn piece or the research or whatever, all it did was create the argument of, well, damn, shit, maybe we should be doing background checks on these police officers, right? This whole hoplophobia that New Jersey has, and if you really look at it, it's all the women. It's all these like soccer moms, right? And it's like, the thing is, it's both white female soccer moms and black women who live in the inner city, right? And it's like you got two different things going on here, right? You got the marginalization, disenfranchisement, mass incarceration, no jobs, no opportunities in cities like Camden, right? No jobs, no opportunities in cities like Trenton, right? We see the bridge that says we make what the world takes. When's the last time Trenton made what the world takes? Okay, there's no jobs there. You got the influx of drugs. Again, Tom Cruise just did a movie on, the dumping of drugs in black communities, right? The Iran-Contra thing going on with Ronald Reagan and all that stuff. The 80s version of Fast and Furious, right? All those drugs getting dumped into the black community. Pablo Escobar, Manuel Noriega, right? El Chapo and all that stuff, right? All dumped in the black community, right? And then on the other side, you got white kids that rarely, but again, disproportionately, shoot up schools. And you get these white women who go, oh, we're so in our, oh, we got to stop, oh, we hate violence, oh, right? Because, women, they always got to be the moral compass of everything, right? Because men don't know justice, men don't know righteousness, men don't know morality. Women have to tell men, just like with prohibition, right? The alcohol is bad, the guns are bad, right? Even though these women will be the first one talking about, we need protection, somebody has to protect us, right? But anyway, so you got these white soccer moms, who go out there marching, right? I was just watching MSNBC the other day, and they said 70% of the people that were doing the march of what is that? The March for Our Lives. 70% of the people who were marching were women. Not only were 70% of the people marching were women, the average age of those women who were marching was 49 years of age. 10% of the people marching were actually uh, 18 years old or below. And I'm like, that's not what I was seeing on the camera. So your numbers are contradicting what I'm seeing on the camera. Or what that says is the fact that you went around and tried to make it look like it was more students that were involved than actually are. And there's already been reports and videos and stuff like that where you have students who are pro Second Amendment and the news, the mainstream media suppresses it. CNN, MSNBC, they suppress it. And now you have YouTube who's running around and basically in cahoots with that whole leftist ideology on guns. Don't get it wrong. I'm pretty left of center when it comes to a lot of social things. But when it comes to guns, I think the left goes just full blown retard. And it pushes me to the right because I'm like, you guys blatantly lie about stuff, right? Like as a firearms owner, like I'm like, you're blatantly lying though. Right? Oh, this gun is fully semi-automatic. Like if wisdom and intelligent thought was on the side of the left, right? Then why do they need to lie about their position? Why do they have to try to do things like conflate fully automatic weapons, which have been restricted since 1986, with semi-automatic weapons? Not to mention the fact that these guns aren't banned, they're just restricted. Or let's call it what it is, cost prohibitive. Because the only people who can afford these fully automatic weapons are rich people. They're not banned, they're just restricted. $200 tax stamp, go through the whole NFA process, and pay $30,000 for M16 made before 1986. Or pay $10,000 for an auto sear made before 1986. And then people, the fully automatic is just so deadly. Actually, fully automatic is the most inaccurate way to fire, which is why they changed it in Vietnam and went from the fully automatic M16s to 3-round burst M16s because of all the ammunition they were wasting killing all the palm trees in Vietnam. So they changed it because direct picking targets, aiming down sights is a lot more effective than just pulling the trigger and literally, as the muzzle climbs, you're just rattling off rounds into the sky. Now, don't get it twisted. Fully automatic is deadly in close quarters. Absolutely deadly in close quarters. But semi-automatic is not that much less deadly in close quarters. But, in terms of rate of fire, yeah, fully automatic is deadly. However, at distance, oh no. If somebody's shooting at me from 100 yards away, I would much prefer them to be shooting in full auto than to be shooting in semi-auto. Because in full auto, I already know that the first bullet may head very close to where I'm at. But the second, third, and fourth bullet, chances are they're going to be over my head. Because most people can't handle the recoil of a fully automatic weapon. You can go on YouTube, you can pull up the videos and everything. The gun pushes them back, and They just start tilting back, and next thing you know, the gun's raising up in the air. There's plenty of videos on YouTube that YouTube is trying to ban. Knowledge about firearms. See, this is the whole thing. It's a whole conspiracy. It's like they want to suppress even the information. That again, in other words, YouTube is just as bad as what the left claims the Republicans are bad about in terms of all the gun research, which is like a double-edged sword. I don't even know why the Republicans, signed off on, yeah, we're going to ban gun research. I get it. You don't want the left to try to use things against you so that people lose their rights. But I'm saying the Republicans, they throw out these statistics in the research anyway to support their arguments. So I'm like, you might as well just have it open and allow it to be researched, because that most likely, again, if the facts are on your side, that would have helped the Second Amendment argument more now than the fear that they had that somehow the research was going to be used against them. I mean, again, CCW holders are some of the most law-abiding people in the country. They commit the least amount of crimes. Obviously, because they have a fear of loss. When you have something to lose, you don't want to lose your rights. You don't want to lose your guns. You value them. You're not going to throw that away over some transient reason. You're not going to run around being a hothead, getting into bar fights and stuff like that, because you're like, man, I don't want to lose my rights. I have a gun collection. I have guns that, you're a gun enthusiast. You don't want to lose that because you threw a punch at a bar. So, again, law-abiding population. But, see, the problem is with all that, not having the research to be used against the gun community, it also made it so the actual facts can't come to light that could, basically vindicate the gun community. So what was I tying that to? I was tying that to something about what the left does. What does the left do? Oh, with the YouTube and the news and, all that stuff, right? So now YouTube wants to ban, firearms channels and stuff like that, and, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, right? And you already know that, like, YouTube does not stay beholden, to their own policies. It's open to interpretation. They leave it loose so that they can flag your video and, this is hate speech. This is false advertised. Flags, get a strike on your page. I know, I've been through it. So, this is it's just pure stupidity. It's just pure stupidity. Really? Seriously, tell me how restricting the magazines is going to make it, prevent the next mass shooting. I can hear Loretta Weinberg right now. We're making it harder. We're making it harder. I'm like, okay. And in the process, you're infringing on the rights of law-abiding citizens for the potential of the one person who can still drive into Pennsylvania, get themselves a 30-round PMAG or a 60-round PMAG or however big of a PMAG they want, break the law, bring it back into New Jersey, and then commence on committing whatever massacre they want to freaking commit. People don't want to have these real conversations, right? Let me bring up race because, that's a hot button topic that nobody wants to touch on. But seriously speaking, when it comes to things that go on in the inner city black community, pretty much everything that young black men do is pathologized, right? Is that how do I say the word? I can't even say the word. Y'all know what word I want to use. They make a pathology about it, right? But when it comes to white kids shooting up schools, there's no pathology about that. There's nothing wrong with white kids. There's nothing wrong with these upper middle class white kids. Same with the opioid epidemic. When it was black kids that were strung out and black people that were strung out on crack in the 80s, the policy was lock them up, throw them underneath the jail. They're all lazy. Now that we got white people in Vermont, Appalachia, Kensington, Philadelphia, dying over opioids, we need compassion. We need understanding. We need treatment centers. It's like, I've already been to 2 funerals, 2 white guys. One of them I argued with about, personal responsibility. He decided to give me a white guy lecture to the black guy about personal responsibility. Yet he's the one that they found him in a car in Kensington with a needle in his arm. See, guns have, they've been here, but, we didn't started seeing this spike, in mass shootings until recently. Partly I blame the news media because they keep sensationalizing. Like if I was a loser and, I'm socially awkward and everything else, and I'm mad at the world because, I'm an entitled white male, who thinks that, I deserve this and I deserve that. And again, we have this deindustrialized nation. Young men can't just walk into a factory and get that job for 30 years and then retire with a kick-ass pension and support a family anymore. So like that's gone, right? So I can kind of understand, the sort of depression that, white guys can go in. But again, I shouldn't even have that level of compassion because nobody most certainly had that level of compassion when it came to young black men. Right? Who has the highest suicide rate in America? Is it young black men, despite all the issues that they're going through in inner city poverty, or is it young white males? Actually, there's like a double spike. It's young white males and middle-aged white males. Middle-aged white males are the highest percentage population. So what's going on with white males? Right? The most obvious point that I can make is, and it goes to show you how much the Democrats in New Jersey are not actually trying to, what do you want to call it? They're not trying to stop, school shootings, because if they were, all they got to do is do the same thing that's been existed in the black communities for the last, 30 some odd years, which is metal detectors in the schools. Black high schools, I'll just say high schools, but black schools in the inner cities have essentially had metal detectors since what? The late 80s? Right? How many mass shootings have we had in inner city black schools? I'll wait. Oh, I'm sure. Oh, there's shootings going on outside the school. There could be a shooting outside in the parking lot. But as it pertains to shootings in the school, zero. Zero mass shootings in black schools. Now, I could say it's all about the metal detectors, but again, there's that glaring pink elephant in the room that's like, even without the metal detectors, I highly doubt that you would see mass shootings in black schools. Black people, they tend to get mad at the people that have wronged them, right? Even in the mass shooters that are black that we have seen, right? They go in there, some accusation of racism, some accusation of, they let's say they got fired or something like that. I think there was a mass shooter up in Connecticut that was a part of the brewery. He went in there, shot a bunch of people. So then you had the DC Naval Yard guy. I don't know what his issues were. But I'm just saying, in general, black people typically target whoever has wronged them, right? You slept with my wife, you slept with my girl, you owe me drug money, you disrespected me, and there may be some victims that get hit, a little girl riding by on her tricycle, and unfortunately she gets hit. But that wasn't an intended target. She was just in between the shooter and, his enemy. But I'm just saying, black attacks tend to be very focused. I don't know what's going on with white males with this sort of satanic, I have to kill everybody, I'm going to kill children, I'm going to kill people that have nothing to do with why I feel the way that I feel. Men, women, and children. I'm going to kill them all. I can't wrap my head around that. And I feel like just saying, hey, throw metal detectors in there and it'll drop, the school shootings will drop like they've dropped in the black community, kind of oversimplifies the situation and makes us leap over that obvious pink elephant in the room, which is the question of why are white males shooting up schools? But see, nobody wants to have that discussion. And even if the New Jersey just put in metal detectors in all these schools and the security guard at the gate where the metal detector is, we would never have that conversation because you cannot pathologize. What is the word? I know there's a word, but anyway, white males can't do it. Can't do it. You'll get accused of reverse racism and all this other stuff. All I'm saying is something's going on. Something's going on. I mean, it was like the Virginia Tech shooter. How many people were shocked when they found that the Virginia Tech shooter was Asian? Right? Everybody was like, "What the hell?" Like everybody was blown away. Why were you blown away? Because you don't see it that often. You really don't. But if you really look at it, Asian people, they go through a lot of stress. They got all the pressure from their community and their society. Oh, you got to go to an Ivy League school. You got to do this. You got to do that. Right? Otherwise, you're nothing in our Asian society, right? I don't know if y'all remember the guy at Yale, the Asian guy at Yale that decapitated his girlfriend. Y'all remember that? So, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on. I'm just saying, if I say metal detectors, we're never going to have that conversation about what's going on with these young white men. Now, it could be argued, they outnumber black people 5-1. So in terms of percentages, that's why you see it that way. I could make the same argument about when we talk about police brutality and why you don't see black cops shooting, down, white people in the news all the time, because police officers are 93% Caucasian. That's why you don't see it. So, I'm just bringing that point up. But, these laws are just, it's like, I don't know what they think they're trying to accomplish. Actually, I know what they're trying to accomplish. Again, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Slippery slope. First, think about it. We're already restricted magazine capacity, 15 rounds. So the rest of the country, most of the states, the rest of the country, they don't have magazine limits, right? So they have their full rights. We don't have our full rights. So we're already restricted to 15 rounds. Now they want to restrict it down to 10 rounds, right? And I'm like, okay, well, what's going to stop you at 10 rounds? You could do like New York and do the whole SAFE Act thing and argue 7 rounds, which got smacked down in the courts. But even still, what is with this magical number of 10? Why does everybody feel 10 is a good number? Why not 11? Why not 12? Why not 8? Why did the judge say 7 is too few? You know what I mean? What they really want you to reduce people down to is revolvers. Yeah, you can have a 6-shot revolver. That's what you can have. Then you'll have somebody who commits a mass shooting that has 4 or 5 revolvers in his pocket and doesn't reload, just simply grabs out and pulls out another revolver, New York reload style. Then they'll be trying to argue that you can only have 1 revolver. You can only possess 1 revolver because, we gotta restrict you down even more. It's not going to stop. That's what people need to understand. There's just 2 people in this country. There's the more realistic people who are firearms owners, who are like, look, anything could happen, and I want to have a firearm to be able to defend myself from anybody, whether it's a home invader, criminal, the federal government. If the government becomes tyrannical in 100 years, that right is to be preserved for future generations. That's what it's supposed to be. right? And then you got the other people who seem to believe that we live in some sort of utopia, that if you got rid of all like they think gun control is violence control, right? I mean, even the arguments that they make are nonsensical, right? Like, if you possess a gun in your home, do you know that you're 1,000 times more likely to be injured by that firearm? Yeah, no shit. I can make the same argument. Do you know that if you get married, you're 1,000 times more likely to get a divorce? Right? Do you know that if you argue with your spouse in the kitchen next to the knife block, you're 1,500 times more likely to get stabbed? Do you know that if you argue with your pregnant girlfriend and try to break up with her in the parking lot while she's driving her car, you're at a 3,000% chance of getting run over? Like, I mean, you could just make scenarios all day. Do you know that if you chew gum and talk at the same time, that you're 30% more likely to choke on your gum? Right? Obviously, an item being present is going to increase the chances of something happening with that item. Right? Do you know that if you live in a snowy climate, you're at a 3,000% chance increase of slipping on ice and breaking your hip? Yeah, because there's ice there. Like you're comparing something present to something not present, to something non-existent, right? I mean, it's so dumb, you know. Do you realize that if you live in the countryside, your chances of getting lung cancer from smog goes down by 10,000%? Yeah, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, you see how you could do that with everything? That's why these arguments are just really dumb. But that's that's what they present all the time. But anyway, I'm tired. I always make an hour long video. I swear I cannot not make an hour long video. Anyway, that's my video. New Jersey gun laws out.